Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Welcome back to another video. Given that theme, today I want to start off with your reminder to express gratitude for the lives that we get to live. We often deal with very first world problems and we get so filled with this negativity that, like, oh, I'm having this and this going on in my life, that we forget to appreciate the life that we get to live compared to some of those around the world who aren't as fortunate as us. So be grateful, think about the things that you appreciate in your life and make sure you value them properly. Speaking of valuing things properly, there's been a lot of talk in the stock market community recently about a bubble, right? Well, even for the past year or so. Um, they're even comparing it very similar to the dot-com bubble because Nvidia is leading the market. It shot up like crazy over the past 2 years, very similar to Cisco back in the late 1900s. One very popular investor who has really been adamant about the bubble is Michael Burry. And he's even come out multiple times and been like, yeah, we're in a bubble, this, that. And there's a reason why Michael Burry is so well known, and it's because he correctly predicted the 2008 financial crash, right? Now, since then, though, he has predicted about 10 or so bubbles that have not really happened. So he has recently decided to close his hedge fund. And I feel like that's kind of the theme that we're seeing. A lot of people are scared of the markets and claiming that the valuations are too high, that it's not justified for these companies, that the earnings aren't growing as fast, et cetera, et cetera. There's all this talk about the bubble. However, one thing that has always been true is regardless bubble or not, consistent investing always outperforms trying to time the market. That's one of the first investing principles that everyone learns. So with that being said, even though we have all these super investors who are like, oh yeah, we're in a bubble, we're not going to see them selling out of their stocks by no means. They're going to keep holding and keep buying when they see opportunities, right? So I think we shouldn't allow what others are saying negatively about the stock market, their pessimistic views, to latch onto us and prevent us from maintaining our regularly investment schedules. So, given that, next I'm going to talk about what I'm going to be doing in this so-called bubble. And the answer is the same that I've always been doing. I'm going to keep investing monthly, probably about $1,500 a month, some months more, at least 1,500 a month. It's going to be into tech, into VOO, VGT, mix of ETFs and stocks, some crypto even. And I'm going to keep investing in companies that I think are dislocated. Recently, I really liked Uber. I bought some shares yesterday, actually, matter of fact. I thought they were undervalued and they were oversold on the RSI. So I'm going to keep investing because, as mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter if we're in a bubble or not. We won't truly know until the future, right? No one can predict the market. I even had this discussion with a friend recently where we have these hedge funds who have these algorithms and they take all this data to predict what's going to happen in the markets, and they're trying to time it and know when to buy and when to sell. So they're constantly buying and selling, and they ended up being less profitable than people who just invest in the S&P 500 and let it sit. Not only to mention that they get worse returns, usually people have to pay them a 1% commission fee to manage their assets, right? So that was the kind of the discussion I had, and you truly are better off just holding the market over time because you're betting that the US economy is going to grow, which realistically with AI, I wouldn't be surprised if we see growth accelerate over the next few years as technology kind of picks pace up again. So, with that, there's one really funny comment that I saw. Of course, I'm going to attach a little image here to give credit where credit is due, where it's not about timing the bubble, it's about time in the bubble, right? Again, this conveys the same message that it's about staying invested in the markets and not panic selling when things go down, right? One of the best traits of a successful investor is being able to stay confident in their vision behind their companies when the market is panicking and dipping, right? And it's all about having the mindset similar to Black Friday, right? We have Black Friday coming up. People are like, "Oh, let me go get that new TV. It's on discount. Oh, new cars or the new phone," right? People are buying things up when it's on sale, right? It's about having that same mindset when it comes to the stock market. When you see stocks are pulling back 20% from all-time highs, 30%, whatever, you shouldn't be scared that the market's just going to collapse because the market's not going to go to zero. The US is not going to allow that, right? We're going to have way bigger issues before then than the market going to zero. So we should take advantage of these pullbacks as sales onto our favorite stocks or ETFs, right? you're getting a lower cost per share than you would have normally, so you get more upside. And that's the beauty of consistently investing, right? Because when I'm buying monthly, I'm gonna buy some of the highs, I'm gonna buy some of the lows, I'm gonna buy the dip, I'm gonna buy everything that's gonna average out to a lower cost basis than if I just bought here and there when I figured the market is going to go up or it's going down or whatever, right? And this also helps for me take off a lot of mental work off my plate, right? I don't have to be constantly thinking about what to invest in, when I should invest in. Instead, I just automate all this and I don't have to spend my time doing this, right? One of the books I read talked about millionaires and billionaires who they optimize their choices every single day by minimizing them. For example, what are they going to eat? What are they going to wear? What are they going to drive? I guess who's driving them? They optimize all of these choices so they don't have to make them day of to save their brain power for the harder decisions that they have to make during their day. Regardless of what people are saying about the markets in the next month, year, even 5, 10 years, that's all short term noise, right? Being an investor means having a conviction that the economy and the companies you invest in are going to keep growing over time. And that's what it's about. You don't really care what happens in the market over the next year or so. You care what happens in the market over 20 years. And over a 20-year period, the market has never returned negative returns. So, as long as you don't let this upset you and panic sell, which is when you actually realize losses, then you will do just fine in the markets and you should just keep investing. At the end of the day, it really does just come down to being consistent with it. You know, any worthwhile task takes consistency and discipline to do, whether it's lifting, wealth building, or growing your business, right? All of these things are something that you have to show up day in, day out, do it regardless of how you feel, and be there. So long story short, don't let these famous people scare you out of the markets just because they think it's in a bubble. Because realistically, they're not going to be selling their positions either. So why should you? Stay invested, keep investing, watch your wealth grow. And as always, stay thankful and appreciate life. Take care. Have a good day.